La 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 la.
My name's Aki, and I'm going to talk to you today about being a minority. So you might be thinking, okay, yeah, he looks a bit funny, but we're in Brixton. You're not really a minority, you're in London. But actually I am, because I'm a doctor who decided to specialize in psychiatry. And the numbers are staggering. There's a real crisis in psychiatry training at the moment. So the Royal College estimates that we need about 500 psychiatry trainees, so junior doctors that go into psychiatry as a specialty each year. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's about 300 to 350 people who decide to do it across the country. And so every year there's a shortage of about 30%. And this is going to affect all of us because disease burden in the UK, 28% is mental health. And so if we are lacking doctors who specialize in this, this may affect a quarter of the people in this room. So my task today, and with your help, is to inspire you guys to think about even maybe going into psychiatry. It's never too late. Graduate medicine is only 4 years. And also, if you could tell your children, your brothers, your sisters, the younger generation to really think about their career choices and to go into psychiatry. I'm going to talk about 3 key aspects of why psychiatry is absolutely amazing. I mean, the stories are fascinating from the patients, but where should I start? I think I need to go back to when I was a young child. I was born in Japan, and I moved over to this lovely country when I was 3 years old. And in my household, it was absolutely routine that each evening we would have dinner as a family. My father, who turned out to be a bit of a dickhead, but that's another story. My mother, who stereotypically always cooked dinner, and my older brother. And my mum was a feeder, and I was an eater. Each evening meal, I think I had about 3 portions, and my girlfriend can vouch for this, but I was she would call it a wee chubber when I was quite young. And as I grew up, I think it actually helped because I love food. I eat everything and anything that's put in front of me. And I think that there's a lot of pleasure in eating. So why am I telling this? When I became a doctor and I worked on the medical wards, I distinctly remember there was a patient who came in with a BMI of about 11. If you're not familiar with BMIs, that's about half the weight of a healthy person. And her heart was struggling to beat because the heart couldn't find the energy to beat each time. And she was dying before our eyes. And I think visually and mentally, I just couldn't comprehend the fact that she would be able to say no to such a pleasurable thing as food. And I think this inspired me to go into psychiatry because I really wanted to understand mentally and physically how these patients go through with this and how we can help them. So this goes to my point number 1 of why everyone should become a psychiatrist. It's because we are in a very privileged position to be able to treat people as a whole. I think there's no health without mental health. As we all know, the mind is very, very powerful. When we're nervous, our heart flutters, we get dodgy tummy, we feel nauseous, we tremble. And that's how powerful our mind is. So, without being able to treat our mind, we won't be able to treat our physical health. And I think that's one of the most privileged things that mental health doctors can do. We can treat from the physical aspects, because at the end of the day, we are doctors, and also from mental health aspects as well. So I was trying to explain this to my father. I just want to get a quick show of hands, actually. If you put your hand up for me, if you can confidently tell me the difference between a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a psychoanalyst, and a counselor. Okay, cool. Okay, there's a few hands. That's good, that's good. It took me about 5 years of medical training to understand the difference. But when I told my father that I wanted to become a psychiatrist, he turned around to me and said, "Oh, is that the one where you speak to ghosts?" So I think there's still a lot of, I don't know, ignorance maybe about the profession. I turned around to him and said, "No, but when you find out which one it is, let me know, because that's definitely something I want to do." So I think going from ignorance goes to point number 2, is that I think psychiatry is the final frontier or the cutting edge of research. So I think the human body is very, very complex, and a lot of it is still not understood, especially our brains, because it's very difficult to do research on a brain. There's so many complex synapses, billions of interactions of neurons, and our minds are very, very complex. They develop in different ways depending on our genetics, depending on how we're brought up, depending on how we interact with our mothers. And I think all of this is still not very well understood. So it actually makes us in a very good position to do lots of research into it. Unfortunately, only 5% of the UK medical research is in psychiatry. However, maybe some of you will be able to change that as well. So, going on to my third point, mental health is in vogue. So, and I mean literally, Selena Gomez, she was, I don't know if you know, but she was interviewed by Vogue a few months ago, and she confessed that she was admitted to a mental health hospital. And she had problems with anxiety and struggling through lots of mental health problems, and she confesses that in Vogue. I don't know if you guys watched the documentary by the BBC about the princes and talking about the loss of their mother. I think it's a really topical conversation at the moment, talking about mental health. I mean, we're in Pop Brixton talking about mental health, and I'm on a pop-up stage talking to some really cool-looking people. And I think mental health at the moment is very, very cool to talk about. And also very healthy to talk about. So I think those 3 combinations of key aspects can come together and make it one of the best career choices I've made. I'm coming towards the end of my talk. I don't know if I want to hear the harmonic, I might stretch it out. When I was preparing the speech, I was wondering whether or not I should talk about some of my really funny and quirky patients, but then, I mean, it's not comedy and there's like patient confidentiality. But I think it's a really great career choice because I come home and there's always an interesting story that you've experienced that day. I will never forget the old lady who I was looking after who thought there was a dog up her vagina. There was a set of identical twins who would come into clinic and they would interchange and like deceive the healthcare professionals who was actually there. All these like funny stories, which I think I need to take with some humor just to keep my sanity. But it is a great, great career to go into. So I really hope that UKs can inspire the next generation as well. I always want to end a good talk on a quote. And this kind of goes into the song I chose as well, which is Christine and the Queen's Tilted. There's a psychiatrist called Carl Jung, and he once said, "Bring me a person who is sane, and I will treat him for you." Thank you very much.
La 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 la.